G'day everyone. In the last video, we looked at how to create our first project, but let's start to look at how we can manage projects in Simply Business. One of the ways we can do that is through stages. So if I click on stages, what I see is 5 standard project management stages. So every project will go through a series of stages, and we start with initiation, and that happens obviously once the quote's accepted and we create the project, we are in the initiation stage. Then we move into planning, and that's where we start to allocate who's going to work on the project and start to allocate tasks to them. Then once we've done that, we move through to the execution phase where we start to actually work on those tasks. Then once all the tasks are completed, we move to the monitoring and control stage where we provide the project to the client and then we just monitor how it's going. And then finally, once everybody's happy, we can invoice and then the project is closed. Now, these are the standard project management stages, but they might not suit your business. For example, if you're a videographer, your stages might be things like script writing, pre-production, filming, post-production, editing, providing it to the client, review, etc., and then finally closure. So you can go ahead and change these. These are not fixed. So we'll look at how to do that now. Now, like with a lot of areas in Simply Business, we have the ability to create a new stage and we have the ability to search our projects in these stages. So if I click new stage, I'm just going to create one called editing. Editing. And I'm going to put it at the end, so position 6, and I can give it a color. So we'll make it that kind of color. And then finally, what I can do is select if this stage indicates that the project is complete. Now with leads, we had 2 specific steps. One was to indicate that the lead resulted in a sale, and one was to indicate that the lead resulted in no sale. With project stages, there's only one special category, and that's that the stage indicates the project is complete. Now you can have as many stages as you like that indicate that the project is complete. And the reason for that is if the project is past its due date and it's not in one of the stages that are marked as complete, then Simply Business will show that as being overdue. But here in our example, we've got both monitoring and control and closure, and both of those really indicate that the project is complete. So we don't want to show that it's overdue if it's in monitoring and control because we've finished it. I won't mark this stage as a complete stage, so I'll just save it. And now we have this new stage at the end called editing. Now, as with lead steps, there are 2 ways to move a project through the stages. One is to open the project, go down to the stage, select planning, and then hit done. And we move that into the planning phase. So now we see that it's in planning, but it's actually just much easier to drag the project into each stage. So we can move it through each of the stages, through to closure, and then finally into editing, which makes no sense. Now I'm going to actually click on editing and delete this stage because it was just an example, but I can't do that because I actually have a project in it and we don't want to lose the ability to see that project because it's in a stage that no longer exists. So I've got a warning here that I have to get rid of the project out of that stage. I'm just going to move it right back to initiation, and now I can click editing and delete that stage because I don't want it anymore. And now we're back to our 5 standard stages. Now what we can do once we move into the planning phase is actually open up the project and go to the tasks and start allocating these tasks to people. So I'm going to open this task. I'm going to put it in the task group on site. I'm going to set the primary responsibility to myself. I'm going to say we need to get cracking on it. And I have all the fixed fee information, everything else. And I'm going to say that this should take 2 hours to complete and then mark that as done. I'm going to go down and assign the second task to myself. Again, on site, assigned to me, need to get cracking. And this one could be 45 minutes. And I'll say it's due, not today, due next week. Done. I'm going to take the 4th one. I'm just putting them all in on site. That's fine. This one I'm going to assign to another guy. And needs to get cracking, 1 hour next week. And then finally, the last one, I will also assign to another guy. I'm just going to leave this, get to it at some point, because I'm not quite sure when I'm going to get another guy to work on it. So I'll just leave it there for now. I haven't filled out the group, so I must do that on site and done. And so now when we come back to stages, we can see that there are 2 people assigned to this project, myself and another guy, and each person has 2 tasks outstanding. So now we can move into the execution phase. We can open up this project and we can go to the tasks and we can say that the first draft is done. So I'll just quickly mark that as done. Go down here. And now when we go back to stages, we can see that I only have 1 task left allocated to me. So you can see this is a way that you can very easily get a sense of all the projects in your system, where they're up to, how many tasks are left to do. It's just a really quick, simple way to get an overview of where your projects are up to. So what I'll do now is I'm just going to set the due date of this project to yesterday so that you can see how it will show up as red in each of these stages, because these stages don't indicate that the project is complete. But if I move it into the monitoring and control stage, then it's not red anymore, because even though the due date is in the past, this stage indicates that the project is complete. And then we can move it through to closure, although that doesn't make sense because we're not actually finished, but I just wanted to show that as an example. So we're still in execution, and I'm just going to go through and actually mark each of these tasks as done. Now when we go back to stages, we'll see there are nobody left assigned to do anything. There's no task left. We can move it into monitoring and control. So then once the client is happy with it and there's nothing more to do, we can move it into closure, and it will stay in that stage until it's finally marked as archived, and then it will disappear from this screen. So again, this is just a really simple way to get a really good overview of where each project is up to and whether or not projects are overdue.